Hi everyone, I thought we could do a little life update, chat all things heart condition, because this time last year almost, it's nearly been a year since my first heart surgery. I vlogged it and just kind of explained how I was feeling after it and things like that. But a lot's happened since then, so I thought we could touch base on it. I've made some notes on my iPad, so I feel like it's important to talk about, and I've always documented it, like little bits on TikTok. I don't talk too much of my symptoms because I think that's very personal for me. I want to talk a little bit about my experience and things like that. If you see rubbish in the back, it's my tinfoil snow disguiser thing off the windshield thing. I've documented some of my journey on social media, purely just to help other people either spread awareness, or like just give you pointers of what I did in certain situations, so that if you're feeling stuck and you don't know where to turn next, this might give you a little clue. But the certain condition I've got is called SVT, which unbeknownst to me actually has different forms of it. I thought SVT was just SVT, means fast heart rate, like your heart rate can just jump like that. That's SVT in a nutshell. But there's actually different forms of it, which I didn't realise up until probably my first surgery, but more my second. My last video ended end of February, early March, where I basically said I'm feeling loads better. Like, even I lie there in bed and feel my heartbeat normal. It's been X amount of weeks since my heart surgery, and I was happy to have my life back. When I had my ablation, I was diagnosed with AVNRT. Basically, in a nutshell, how it was explained to me is your heart has two firing signals, and they're supposed to fire off each other, like boom, 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 I think. But mine had a third one, so it was like beating in a triangle. It was beating in the wrong circuit sort of thing. The ablation's designed to basically burn off one of them so that it goes back to the normal rhythm it's supposed to. So yeah, that's it. Chances of that coming back is quite slim, because the scar tissue, I don't know. Basically, once that happens, the chances of that happening again with that same circuit is very slim. The other possibilities of resuffering with SVT after your ablation could be that there was another circuit that was missed, didn't present itself during the ablation, things like that. Or there's something underlying going on. But the chances, like I say, of that circuit reforming is very slim. It got to about May time. I'd just lost my granddad, and obviously life was a bit tough. I do sort of know triggers, but I don't know what re-triggered my full SVT to kick back off after heart surgery, because for 2 months I was literally perfectly normal. I understood what it was like to live a normal life. Like, me and Tyler went to Lanzarote, we had a lovely time. I had stresses in life throughout them 2 months, yet I wasn't like triggered into any episodes and things like that. Life was good. First protocol when my symptoms resurfaced was to call back my cardiologist. I just thought that was possibly the best route to go down. It was really hard to get a hold of people, actually. The communication was a little bit hard, I will say. But I eventually got a hold of the secretaries. They were basically just saying that the next appointment wasn't until February, and mine was September, so I was lucky to have the one I had, basically. What I will say about my symptoms resurfacing was the fact I felt a little bit more out of control. I don't like to talk about my symptoms because I think they're very personal to me. The way I've experienced SVT, something that only close people's ever really seen or know about. So I don't want to touch base on that, but I just know that although there were the same symptoms, it felt a lot either harder to manage, understand. If I was having an episode, I could usually predict how the next hour was going to feel, but then it could be that I would continuously have an episode for that hour and it just wouldn't stop. Or like, however I've always predicted my episodes to be like, this just wasn't it. It just never felt the same. I didn't know how it was actually going to progress and things like that. I did book GP appointments in this time, but I wasn't given beta blockers in this moment. I was just kind of passed back to the cardiologist, which I was trying to do myself anyway, and they just sent a letter off saying basically, can you review her as soon as possible. But yeah, so then my cardiologist appointment happens in September, bearing in mind my surgery was in February, so this is my 6-month review. And I say I still don't feel very well. I felt all right for like 2 months, and then it kind of kick-started again. I says all of what I've mentioned, but I was just reassured that the AVNRT possibly hasn't come back, and just to monitor symptoms, Holter recorders, that kind of thing. So I think I had a Holter recorder on for 48 hours, which I hate these Holter recorders. It's basically a heart monitor that's attached to you, like a portable one, for however long. Usually you get given 24, 48 hours because there's usually a lot of demand for them. They are under 72 hours is the most useless, waste of time, pile of... My experience with less than 72 hour Holter recorders hasn't clearly gone very well. So to be given a 48 hour one, I thought you're joking. Because the issue is with SVT, heart conditions, trying to diagnose them, it's impossible half the time. Like, you'll ring an ambulance. Oh, I'm having SVT. The ambulance will come out. SVT's gone. Because it starts like a clap of thunder. It ends like a clap of thunder. Honestly, there's just... time you get the help you need, it stops. An ECG on or a Holter recorder, and that's the 48 hours where it doesn't happen. As soon as you take the Holter recorder off and post it through the little red box on the wall, bang, SVT. Excellent. Just what I want. So, yeah. Nightmare. So I was given the Holter recorder, and lo and behold, it didn't catch anything. So... love that for me. This is an example of what I've just said there, right? I handed that 48 hour recorder in. I knew I didn't have any symptoms. Nothing happened. Holter recorder came back totally normal. That same week, I was admitted to A&E in the October, right? So, crazy. It was a Thursday night, and I was having a lot of ectopic beats, which is basically where your heart beats prematurely. It adds in extra beats, it skips a beat. It's a very uncomfortable feeling, but something I've always been told as a girl with a heart condition is ectopics are nothing to worry about, which is funny because I'm going to give you a little pointer here that sometimes they can be. So this night I started having a lot of ectopics. My heart just wasn't beating in the right rhythm at all at this point because I was having that many, but like it's always been drilled into my head, they're nothing to worry about. So I had an uncomfortable night's sleep, feeling like my heart was going to stop. It's horrible. My heart wasn't in SVT. I was just having a funny rhythm. The Friday, I don't know if I went to work or something that day. I had a bit of a busy day. And then it was still happening on the Friday night. And I was like, look, I still don't feel very well. And when I was researching it, I think it might have been either the Thursday or the Friday, I was looking into ectopics a bit more because this didn't feel right. I thought there's something amiss here. And it said that, yes, ectopics are nothing to worry about, but there can be a point where ectopics are masking something else going on. Important. So, yeah, I was a little bit like, maybe I should read the signals my body's trying to give. But then I just thought, if I go to A&E, it's a waste of time because it's just ectopics. Like, you drilled so many different things into your head all the time, and it's just a lot of miscommunication. It's really hard with heart conditions, I fear. Like, that is what I've learned. It's impossible. You get told one thing from somebody else and this from somebody else. It's hard. I've always rang 111 whenever I've had episodes because I've never found myself in a position where I think, like, I need to ring 999. There's been positions where other people's rang 999 for us, where I've been not even in the room. But this was quite a few years back. But over the last year, I've been in many ambulances, had many A&E trips, but I've never actually rang 999 because I just always think in my head, maybe it's just not serious enough to need to ring that kind of help. Lo and behold, an ambulance has always been sent, but for me to ring an ambulance, I feel like, should I be ringing an ambulance? Am I wasting somebody who might be having a heart attack's time? If anybody's watching this and this could help anybody in the future, what I will say is, especially in this scenario where it felt different and I didn't know what was going on, even though it was like topics, it felt very different for me. In that scenario, I probably should have rang 999. This night in particular felt different, and that is a warning sign in itself where you should ring 999 because your body feels different. It's not how it normally feels, sort of thing. Had it have just been a normal big bad episode, I probably would have booked a doctor's appointment on Monday, sort of thing. More just to spread awareness, and if anybody's dealing with the same thing, hence why I'm like trying to give my advice the best I can. But yeah, so I was in A&E. My heart kept spiking to nearly 200. It was a very uncomfortable situation. It was actually really traumatic. The crew that came to the house was so lovely. I explained to them my stresses about, like, what's the point? I've always been palmed off. I've just had ablation in February. I just feel like people's just going to think it's anxiety. Like, I don't know. I've had before my ablation that I had in February, I had a lot of palming off. Like, this is 4 or 5 years down the line now. So there's always that trigger in the back of my mind that thinks like, it's just going to be the same as before, nobody's going to listen to you, it's a waste of your night. Paramedics were like, no, like if this was my daughter, I'd love her to go to hospital and get checked out, like you need checking out. At the point of me ringing 111, which I forgot to mention, SVT had started, I was still having ectopics, and then a little bit of chest pain started creeping in, which I think would warrant a 999 call, but I still called 111. Then we're waiting for handover at A&E. I know all the terminologies now, I may as well be a cardiologist myself. But yeah, and I think I had like a big episode, because the next thing I know, I'm being wheeled into the high acuity dependency something. Tyler's been left outside, the doors have been shut, I'm being slid across onto the other bed because I'm not in a fit state to climb over. It was bad. I was just like, this is embarrassing. The thing is with my SVT, although the heart condition symptoms start very suddenly, like the SVT comes out of nowhere, I can feel that my body's going to have some sort of like adrenaline, which is probably my SVT. I can feel it before the episode happens. Like I get really tingly and my face feels nervous, like as if I'm about to go onto a stage and speak in front of loads of people. Like my body can just sense adrenaline sort of thing. I don't know. So I was able to press the buzzer. The nurses would come in and they'd just watch the SVT kick off. They were slamming the red buzzer on. Nurses and doctors and everyone was coming in. I had defib pads on, which was a first. I was absolutely mortified when they brought these out. I was like, oh, am I about to get... Like, do these think either the heart's going to stop or am I about to be cardioverted right now? Because I'm not dealing with that. And I was given a medication which was through my IV, but it wasn't adenosine. It was the one kind of before this, which every time they give you a little bit of it, they had to watch my blood pressure to make sure it didn't drop too much. And I felt a bit woozy with it, but it was something to do with heart slowing down medication, but I don't know, I can't remember what it was called. And obviously they had the defib pads on ready to cardiovert. I've never actually done the Valsalva manoeuvre where you blow in a syringe and things. Like, I would actually die if somebody told me to blow into a syringe. I'd be like, that's embarrassing, I'm not doing that. This is actually the most emotional part, because although I had treatment in the past for my heart conditions, I was eventually took serious, things like that. A nurse, one of the head clinician nurse women, she kneeled near the bed and she was like, you're safe, we're going to look after you, we're not going to let you go until we know what's going on. And like, to have somebody say that to you after years of being palmed off with anxiety, wow. Oh, I was sobbing. And like, I don't know, it just clarifies that it's not just like I say about the 111, like am I serious enough to actually go and get help? Like, you never know, like maybe you do, maybe it's just me. I always like doubt myself, thinking like I don't need help. Like I don't know, that meant more to me than anything. Like, it was insane. And then my bloods came back, and essentially this has all happened because my electrolytes were severely imbalanced. The Asters had I been eating and drinking as normal. I had been. There was no pointers and indications as to why this had happened. Obviously, because I was in A&E, it caught the SVT, so I was officially re-diagnosed with SVT, which again, this is the first time I've been officially diagnosed with it while living with it, because when I was diagnosed with it before, the AVNRT, that was during the ablation when it was ablated, so it was technically rid of. But yeah, so I was then admitted to coronary care for 3 days. I was given all sorts of IVs. I had to piss in a commode. I was strapped to the bed, I couldn't move. I really wanted to go out for fresh air. I think it was like the placebo effect, because I knew I couldn't, because I was attached to IVs that was attached to the bed. Like, it wasn't like a stick that I could walk around with. And I kept saying to the woman, can I please go outside? And she was like, no. She was like, do you vape? And I was like, no, I don't smoke. Like, I just really want to go outside. And she was like, I'm watching your mind. When I was eventually allowed a portable heart monitor, this whole 4 days experience, by the way, I was attached to defibs, everything still. So it was a few days later I was eventually allowed to go outside, and she's like, I'm watching you, man. I was like, I promise I literally don't vape, I just want to go outside. And when I was allowed to go and sit outside, I was the happiest girl in the world, and I didn't have enough energy to stand up, but I just sat on the floor outside the hospital. And I don't know, it's kind of a humbling experience to know as a 20-year-old I was just happy to be outside. It does make us a bit emotional, to be honest. I was then discharged back on beta blockers for the first time since the surgery and all of that jazz. 6 days later, I was then put back in an ambulance and sent back to A&E. This time blue lighted, it was horrific. but then discharged hours later. Upped my beta blocker dosage after 6 days. I feel like the worst part about this is when doctors don't know what to do with the heart condition, they just keep upping your beta blockers until they can't anymore. I've had this experience in the past where I'm put on the same beta blockers dosage as people with heart attacks, and it's because I don't know what else to do. It's just like, oh, here's some more beta blockers on your way. I think I had another A&E trip after this. Them 2 A&E trips, as pointless as they felt, thinking like, I'm still not getting the answers I need. I need this rid of, like, their beta blockers aren't touching the sides. Like, this is just not an ideal scenario. They were also sending letters to my cardiologist, so at this point my cardiology team had like 4 letters sent to them. A few days after that, I then got a phone call, which it was really random that I was awake at this time of morning, because I'm not normally, if I don't have anything on, I'm not normally awake early. But I was awake because I was dropping my brother's work van off at the work factory skip place thing, and the Freeman rang and they were like, just to let you know, we're wanting to book you in for another ablation. Does the 21st of November work for you? And I was like, yeah. I was like, another ablation? Like, I thought the cardiology team would have reviewed us again and then booked us in, but I just got a phone call saying heart surgery in less than a month. Blaring my eyes out, I cried all the way to my brother's workplace. A mess that day. I thought, what the hell? It came out of nowhere, and then before I know it, it was my heart surgery day. I found it really hard. I think a lot of people are like, oh, you've done it before, but I think that was making us worse because I knew what to expect this time. I just didn't like the full, like, to be honest, there was nothing anybody could say to comfort us that would make us feel any better. I was just shitting myself. I knew what to expect. I knew what was painful. I knew I had to be on my own. I was awake during the surgery, found it quite lonely. When the catheters went through my leg the first time, there is nothing in this world to describe how painful that was. But I was traumatised because that's the first part of the operation. I was absolutely bricking it because I knew that this catheter going through my leg sort of thing, awful. And there's 3 of them that need to go in. The ablation itself, I was like, I'm not bothered about that doesn't hurt. But on the ward that the ablation people go to, it's like a same day ward thing where you leave the same day, so they don't let relatives on, which I think is a disgraceful. Honestly, I'm appalled at this rule. I still am to this day, because I think it's absolutely disgusting how patients are just expected to just go in, have like a heart procedure done and leave, like on their own, just pick us up and drop us off, I'll be alright. Like, and I ended up having a bit of like a kerfuffle with one of the nurses. I was obviously respectful, but I was just like, just because this is another day at work for everybody else doesn't mean that this is an everyday occurrence for the patients. Like, this is an impossible day for me. It's like one of the hardest days of my life, and I'm expected to do this on my own. So I contacted pals before my ablation, and I said, like, look, I'm not doing this ablation unless I know that somebody's coming to sit on the ward with us before I go down, because I don't know how I'm expected to go and sit on a ward and wait to be down into surgery just on my own. What? The math's not mathing there, and it's something that I'll spit feathers about forever. But I was absolutely fuming about it. But then pals rang us back and they're like, no, yeah, it's fine, he can stay with you right up until you go down, he can come straight back when you're back. Champion. I went into it feeling a lot less anxious. I arrived at the hospital 8:30 in the morning, and then the nurse in charge comes and tells Tyler to go. And I was like, what? Like, I spoke to pals. He was like, no, I'm the one that pals have spoke to. He has to go. And I was like, what? Like, this is not what I was told. So, miscommunication, fuming. I was, like, absolutely hysterical. I was dealing with a lot of stuff behind closed doors as well that day, which I ended up having to deal with the police about, which was just not what I had on my bingo card the day of surgery. But that's a story for a different day. So, yeah. I ended up, like, advocating for myself and just basically saying, like, this is not an everyday occurrence for me, like, I need support here. And he ended up letting them stay, but that was just stress I shouldn't have had to go through the morning of. Like, I was already feeling nervous, but I felt a little bit better knowing that Tyler was allowed to be there. So, stupid rule. My cardiologist came and we had a little chat before surgery, and he basically said, I'm not gonna lie, I don't think I'm gonna find anything. I don't think your AV and RT's come back. I don't really know what's going on, but I don't think it's SVT. And I was kind of like, I think you possibly might. Like, I think there is something going on. And then I got up my ECGs that I took on my watch. Another important factor, if you've got any heart condition symptoms going on, get a watch with the right series that can do ECGs, and they're very good for catching episodes and detect AFib. But that's it really, I think. It'll detect a high heart rate, but it doesn't really diagnose SVT and things like that. But it'll come up inconclusive, poor recording if there's something like kicking off sort of thing. I will insert a photo of what my ECG looked like that I showed my cardiologist, as he said he didn't think he'd find anything. And then he went, oh, actually, no, this does look like something. He said it was called MAT, which I didn't really think or question much of it, because at this point we still had to go down, try and find if it was that, where it was coming from, get rid of it before we could officially diagnose it. That's the process of ablations. So we went down. I explained to him that I was scared about the catheters going through my groin, and he said that he would double the anaesthetic, which he did. I never felt a thing. It was blissful. The wires going into my heart, a bit of an uncomfortable, funny feeling, but you know, just one of them things. And then the ablation happened. Whew! Ow, that hurt a lot. Yeah, I was like screaming, crying. I also said that I felt lonely last time because there was nobody else there. So I did have a lovely nurse called Morgan, I think he was called. I don't know if he was like an anaesthetist person thing. I don't know, but he was lovely. And yeah, so I just remember thinking he's called Morgan, and I was watching Ginge on I'm a Celebrity. So I was just like, I'm just on I'm a Celebrity right now. I was high as a kite on all sorts, so you can just imagine. Just to map out where it was in my heart that was causing these extra whatevers. And then he started doing the ablation, and I moved because it was so uncomfortable. Like I say before, the last ablation, when they burnt it, it didn't hurt. The only thing that hurt was the leg thing. This time, all the way around, completely. Oh my lord, that pain that happened in my heart was disgusting, and like I couldn't even breathe. I was like it was horrible, like awful. And then obviously I had my friend Morgan here, and he was like, squeeze my hand, which is what I wanted. I wanted somebody to talk to us and ask us to squeeze a hand. I couldn't even squeeze his hand. I was like, oh, I need support, and then couldn't even rely on the support because I literally couldn't breathe. I couldn't move my hand. I was literally like, couldn't move for the life of us to squeeze his hand. And then I went into recovery, which I ended up being in for quite a lot longer. Speaking of which, actually, the surgery was only supposed to take about 2 hours, and I think it took nearly 4, 5, I can't remember. Well, I know that I went down just after dinner time, and I didn't come out until 6 o'clock. There was like a good fair few hours. Love you. Love you. Bye. Who were Tyler and my mum were sitting in the hospital thinking, where the friggin' hell she at? I was told it was only going to take 2 hours. Tyler runs back to the ward and he's like, where's she at? And they were like, she's still in surgery. Like, they found things, they're trying to deal with it. Scary. So then I text him. I'll put a screenshot of the chat in when I text him, and he was like, thank fuck for that. And I was like, I'm alive. So that takes us to today. It's the 21st of January today, which means it's been 2 months since my heart surgery today. Still having episodes. I still like, it's hard because the last 2 months from my surgery I felt better. These 2 months I still feel ill. I've cut 10 chunks out of the story. I was diagnosed with MAT, which is what he thought it was going to be, which is multifocal atrial tachycardia. Quite a few questions as to how I've been diagnosed with this, because when you research it, the chances of a 20-year-old healthy girl getting this condition is very slim. It's mainly prominent in older people or people with lung conditions and like COPD. I don't tick any of them boxes. I think I'm quite youthful, to be honest. Like, I'm not old. No, but like, I'm a little bit baffled. I asked my GP about this the other day because I went to see my GP and said I'm still not feeling well, so he's kind of jotted that down, put us back on beta blockers, upped them again, yeah, and I asked him, I said like, what, how have I got this sort of thing? And he said, I don't know, it's probably worth checking with your cardiologist. It's probably one of them things that nobody ever knows the answer to. And I thought, oh, excellent, love that for me. So yeah, haven't got a clue who, what, why, when, where this has come from. But yeah, basically that is my recent diagnosis. I do know that in the ablation, they either found 3 or 4 different areas, but only ablated 2 or 3. I can't remember. I just know that there was one left. This could have been down, when I've researched this, could have been down to the fact that it's weak enough to die on its own. It'll be asymptomatic. It either didn't present itself enough during the ablation to be ablated. I'm trying to be cheerful about right now because this is a very long video for you to watch, but I am still struggling. I think it's really hard. I just want to be a healthy, energetic 20-year-old. I want to be able to like run around with my nieces and nephews without feeling like my heart's going to collapse, alongside myself. Trying the beta blockers again. We'll just see how things get on, really. But I thought I'd give you a life update because it's been a year nearly since my last heart surgery. Pursuing my dream is something I'm still grateful I get to do. I used to work at Wetherspoons after my last surgery, which was quite a physically demanding job, believe it or not. And I did struggle quite a lot there, but again, very thankful to the team I had there because they handled it really well. And yeah, it's just wild to think that I'm still dealing with it after I thought, like, look at my face in that last video. I was like, oh, so well. I've actually never felt more good in my whole life. Just you wait. No, but I believe in the Lord that one day it'll go for good. I'm very thankful to the team of support I've had, either that with the NHS that I've had this year. Yeah. So that is where I'm at, and I hope you've loved the update. But yeah, I've kind of just, like I say, I've done this to raise awareness. If you know there's something not right in your body, push to get answers, because this could have been dealt with 4 or 5 years ago, but here I am still struggling. You know your body better than anybody, so push to get the answers you deserve. And with that being said, I'm going to love you and leave you all and hope that the next update is a positive update. Bye, everybody.